And joining us now for the first show of the Circle and Rectangle show is Nick Montgomery. Nick, welcome to the show.
Hi guys, how you doing? Thanks for the invite.
No worries. Thanks for coming on. Obviously, with the Mariners and having a great Sheffield United career and then coming over to Australia, what was that transition like to come over from playing in the cold, wintry months of European football to the warm, blistering summer of Australia? What was that transition like for you?
Well, look, for me, I found it pretty easy, but I know a lot of players have struggled. I always liked the heat to be honest, and even at Sheffield United, we used to go to Malta, Spain pre-seasons, and I always felt that when it was hot day, I was one of the fittest players there, so it never really affected me. But I mean, obviously coming out here from playing sort of winter competition, which is winter in England for 12 months really, coming to Australia. It's definitely it's definitely a good experience and one that I enjoyed because I think the heat definitely zaps everybody's energy. So being a player that was full of energy, and I found as the games went on, that's when that's when I found to have more energy. And later on in games, I probably felt better than most of the other players.
Yeah, no, but definitely later on in games because I was going through a few of your stats and that wonder goal you scored against Perth in the 92nd minute obviously must have felt good.
Yeah, it's always good to score any goal, but especially in the last minute. Again, we had a really young team for a couple of years, so it was a lot on my shoulders being captain and like you say, trying to get these young players up to speed with playing professional football. So that was definitely one of the highlight goals of my career. Not that there was that many.
As you said, any goal's a good goal. But
Absolutely.
yet, coming through as well, coming into Central Coast for your first season and winning the championship against the Wanderers. Even though unfortunately you missed that game due to suspension, but what was that like coming across in your first season and lifting some silverware?
Yeah, look, when I initially spoke to Graham Arnold, the club Sheffield United had a link with the Mariners, and for example, Trent Sainsbury, quite a few of the boys came over sort of trialing back in the day. So I always had that, that link with the club. And when I spoke to Graham, he sort of told me about the A League, and I just turned 30, 31, I think. So I was looking to get abroad and try a new experience. And I could feel that on the phone that he was disappointed and he was desperate to try and win the trophy for the club after coming close previously. So I think coming over, it was part of my remit was to make sure that we had a competitive team that could win the league. So as you mentioned, then I think I played every game that season. I got 2 yellow cards, which is, believe it or not, was my first red card in my career. Against Melbourne Victory in the semi-final, we won 1-0. It was the last minute, and to get that red card was devastating. But to be honest, I knew the boys would win the game, and Ollie Bozanic, who's back now as captain, who was a young player at the time. He hadn't played much that season. Me and John Hutchinson were sort of solid partnership in the middle. So when I missed that game, I just gave Ollie some advice and just go out there and enjoy it. And I think I'd say, it was it was a good game and one that I felt that we were always going to win. So to win the title, in my first year, knowing that I'd given a big contribution was a really proud moment for me.
Yeah, that's it. It's not all about the final game of the year, although it is weird in Australia. But the games that get you there are pretty important as well. So, how have you enjoyed living in Australia? Obviously, it's a little bit different to England, as you said at the start, and you seem to like it because you've stuck around now, coach. So it can't be all bad.
Yeah, look, obviously the weather's a massive plus. Coming from the UK, and when I moved out here, my twins were I think 14 months old, and to be honest, they just really they really progressed out here with the climate and stuff. So, look, the pressure is very little here compared to overseas, and that's one thing I try and say to the young boys here that if you can't play under pressure here, then you are really going to struggle to go overseas because even lower leagues all the way up to the Premier League, the fans live and breathe football, whereas here it's one of many sports and fans go to enjoy the game. It's a family, it's a family atmosphere. Whereas in Europe, it's at times it feels like it's life or death, and it's one thing that I don't think you can ever prepare players for. Whereas me coming this way over, I found it a little bit, probably a little bit strange that there wasn't that passion there and desperation to win, and at times losing's accepted, which if you give everything, that's fine, but there's a lot of games where you see teams not really perform and they get clapped off after, and the fans won't fan. Whereas it's very, very different in Europe.
Yeah, that doesn't happen over there.
European football fans are brutal, but saying the pressure in that is a bit eased over here. I know you played in, I think, an F3 derby, and you guys came away with a victory that sealed Newcastle Jets wooden spoon. What's it like? Obviously, it's, again, you don't want a wooden spoon, but as you said, there's no real pressure. So, how does it feel different from coming dead last and possibly getting relegated to coming last and being, we'll try again next year kind of thing?
Yeah, again, that's, it's not normal really, because most leagues in the world you finish bottom, you get relegated, and along with that comes financial implications. Fans absolute disgust. So, for a league where there's no relegation, like you said, then it's a case of let's try something, which we did here. We only did here, just play a lot of young players. Hopefully they can progress, and sometimes it doesn't work. I think you've got to have that balance, and that's one thing that the club's learned now, because I think the first year I came out, the club was quite lucky. Matty Ryan, Trent Sainsbury, Tommy Rodgi, Ollie Bogdanic, Bernie Abini. We actually have a really good bunch of young players, and that you don't get that every year. It's not it's not something that happens all the time. And I think with the sale of a few of them and the success, but obviously the main driving force behind that was the experienced players and pushing everybody in. I think myself, John Hutchinson, Patrick Francois, Daniel McBreen, Milos Stojovski, you only have to look around, the amount of games, top level overseas games that we played, and really the young boys came on board, and you try and teach them everything you can, and to see them go on and progress from that and go and play in Europe. It's great to know that you've helped them in some way. Mitch Duke as well, plays like Mitch Duke. It was a good bunch that went on to progress. So it's always proud, and you've helped somebody in some way, especially a young player, push on and get on the ladder, being professional. But that's only the start. I think staying there is always the hardest thing.
Oh yeah, and Matt Ryan now playing at Arsenal, his boyhood club, so that's a huge thing for him, and it all started at the Central Coast.
Yeah, great for Matt. He's an Arsenal fan. He's had a difficult time, but look, that does happen in England. They want top keepers, in training and in the stock. So hopefully he can push through and make that first team, because he's a top kid and a top goalkeeper.
So I'm trying not to be too much into the Sheffield United, because we are an A-League podcast, but I can't help myself. A few questions. The best player you played with for the Blades that wasn't yourself?
I played with so many great players. It's hard. The likes of Jagielka, Michael Brown, Michael Tong, Peter Unlove. There's so many, but I think as in actual ability-wise, I've said it a few times. I think Michael Tong, the young player coming through. Remember the goals against Liverpool? I think if he'd got the move that he deserved at the time, I think he would have gone on and on. But in football, sometimes the moves that you make, don't work out. And he went to Stoke for good money, and it just didn't really work out from there. And I felt that if he'd gone to the right club, he would have gone on, because he was a fantastic player. But like I said, don't want to be disrespectful to any others, because there's so many top players that I played with. It's a tough one to answer.
Now, in 2010, we know you're a boyhood Leeds fan, and playing time probably wasn't huge for the Blades around then. I think we just dropped down to we were still in the Championship. And how close were you to signing with Leeds?
Yeah, look, I started out at Leeds as a kid. It's no secret that I was from Leeds. I started at Leeds United, signed on schoolboy forms. And not when I got to 16, the club was fine in the Champions League. I had quite a few illnesses with glandular fever, missing training, and at the time, I sort of spoke to Paul Hart, and he couldn't guarantee that I would have got a scholarship when I left school. So that's when I took the opportunity to move on, and that's when Sheffield United offered me the scholarship straight away. So after that, I think there's 3 times that I could have signed for Leeds. Once I was very close. But the club didn't want me to go, and I was always loyal to Sheffield United, probably too loyal at times, because I stayed with them through hard times when I could see the hard times were coming, when sort of the money was taken out and the players, some good players were let go. So look, I don't regret any of it. I love Sheffield United, like I say, that's my club, it always will be. But like I say, Leeds was my first club, and like I said, I don't live with any regrets, but I did come close to signing for a couple of times, and we probably would have been good to experience playing Ellen Road in the first team, but I just had to go there and score at the Cop End instead. So
That's always good. So take us back to your first team debut for Sheffield United against Norwich at Carrow Road. What was that like coming on as a young lad as a substitute?
I think he said everybody's dream when I first joined the club. Obviously, ambition is to get in the first team. You see the first team players, and it's to work hard. And again, I'll give you the short version. But I broke my ankle in my first year apprentice. Second year apprentice, I had meningitis, the viral version. The bacterial version. Ended up in hospital for 2 weeks on a drip. Missed a lot of games. So to be honest, that 2 years where you really need to push on and get in the first team, I had a bit of a nightmare, to say the least. But I think Neil Warnock came in and he didn't really care about what had gone on previously. He just wanted players that were passionate, that would fight for the club and make the team competitive. And he saw me playing, and that was it from then on. I scored a hat-trick in the reserves at Stockport, and that was on the Wednesday night. On the Saturday, I made my debut at Norwich away. So yeah, I remember coming on and just enjoying it, thinking, after everything I've been through, this is what I've always wanted to do, and just grabbed it with both hands. And that's again something I tell the young players, that you have to be ready for the opportunity, because if you don't grab it with both hands, it can disappear quickly. And there's probably thousands, if not millions, of players that came on the scene for one or two appearances and never played again. So I think for me that was reward for just believing and just being single-minded. That's all I wanted to do, and again, obviously need a little bit of luck and be in the right place at the right time. But from that moment on, I was in the Sheffield United squad for the next 12 years, I think.
And you did say it was every boyhood dream to everyone to play for your club, but you've moved on from professional football now, and you're now into the coaching side. You mentioned names of obviously Graham Arnold, current Socceroos coach, and then Neil Warnock, a legendary English coach. How have they influenced your coaching mentality or coaching style per se?
Look, I always wanted to get into coaching. I think the management side of it, the leadership side of it. I've been captain at Sheffield and been captain of the Mariners, and everywhere I've been, I thought, I think it's a natural progression. It's not easy, but I always like the coaching and the sort of mentality side of it. I do believe that you can be the best coach in the world, but if the players don't believe in you and don't have respect for you and are not going to fight for you, then it doesn't matter how good you are or how good your players are. So I think I do like that side of it. And look, I started on the coaching badges when I was still playing. I did the UEFA B&A licence, and I finished a pro licence during the lockdown period when COVID-19 hit. So for me to get the UEFA Pro licence, which is the best, the biggest coaching award you can get, I think it's something I always wanted to do, like making my appearance in the first team when I began coaching, to get the pro licence, which allows you to coach anywhere in the world at the highest level.
Yeah.
But your question there about people that you've worked with, I've been fortunate. I worked with Neil Warnock, some top coaches, Neil Warnock, Brian Robson, Brian Kidd, obviously legendary Brian Kidd. I was lucky. I worked with Mike Phelan. Mike Phelan came out to Australia for 6 months working at the Mariners in terms of in the youth side of it, and that's where I really sort of spent a lot of time with him. And I don't think you can learn off anyone better. He went back to Man United, and Man United are now top of the league. And in terms of what we talked about with young players and what he taught me, I've used a lot of that here to help develop these players. And like you said, I think you take the good bits from everybody that you've worked with, and there's too many to mention, but there's obviously bad bits as well that you don't do. But from that, I think that as well as your own beliefs and your own thoughts around coaching and working with top people, I think that's really where you learn from. And to be honest, I was lucky that I met a guy on my A licence, a Portuguese coach called Sergio Raimundo, and he actually works with me here now. And to be honest, I've learned so much off him. Someone that's worked at Benfica Academy, which is producing the best players in the world.
Oh yeah.
To learn and have someone like him working alongside you, like you said, for me, it's about who you work with and having a team of people around you. And here, I've had some students that have come on board to do the video analysis and stuff like that. And I think, like I say, having a good team of people around you so you can concentrate on what you're good at and delegate to others. I think that's again a good part of being a coach and a manager as well.
we talk about the players that you've had come through the youth, the youth team through the Mariners. Now starring for the first team. I've seen your Instagram stories when they score goals and they make their debuts. You're obviously very proud, but just how proud are you that they've come through that development and now they've made that next step? And it seems like they're gonna, they've got their feet in at that next level, even though it is very early. And surely they have some part to thank you for helping them get to that next level.
Yeah, look, I mean, it's quite extraordinary at the minute the amount of young players that are the first team here at the club, and to see the club sitting top of the league.
Yep.
I think out of the 4 goals that have been scored, 3 goals have been scored by the young players that played under me last year. So obviously it's proud, and I think that's what, in terms of having a good academy set up is to produce players. And I think one thing that happened during the lockdown is we got together. We sort of set this mentality off. Now's the time to show everybody that you're ready when the league starts back up. And we won the league, won the grand final with both the under 23s and under 20s. And for me, from that team, I think there's about 8 or 9 that have been training with the A League, and I think 5 or 6 have made an appearance already this season. So it's quite, it's great for the club. Obviously, Stadge coming in last year had a tough year. We don't have bags of money to go out and buy top class foreign players, and at times we were unlucky last season, but a bad run of form meant that the team struggled. But I think he's worked hard and rejuvenated the squad over the off season, and having these young players come in, like Mikey Simon, Oli Bozanic, Birighetti, Ruan, all of a sudden you've got this real mix of youth and experience. And I think the A League in general, with the pandemic impact, has meant that the clubs are not spending as much as they used to. They can't afford to be spending as much use, and the big clubs like Sydney and Lafon's gone overseas. For Sydney, it's been a big loss for them. But look at Perth Glory. They obviously spent a lot over the last couple of years, as well as Melbourne Victory, Melbourne City. These teams, I don't think any of them have really pushed the boat out this year. So the opportunity to really compete with them, it's been perfect timing, and that's what we kept drilling into the young boys, that you got to grab your opportunity, you got to be ready when it. Like I said, Luke Hall and Jordan Smiley scoring 3 out of the 4 goals scored this season, and plenty of others coming on and making appearances. It's proud for me that knowing that I've helped them along the way, and I think mentored them and tried to make them understand what's accepted, what's expected at first team level and what the demands are. And like I said, it's been great for myself and Sergio, and great for Stadge and the first team, that these boys are really pushing and creating competition for places.
And clearly they took the advice of, be ready when you get that shot, because sometimes you're not ready and you don't take it, and then it's all gone in a flash, and they've taken it. So that's huge. Is it a little bit reminiscent of the title-winning Mariners team, with the amount of youth players in there, surrounded by the experience, as you said, Matt Simon, Bozanic, Birighetti at the back, who I think is probably one of the best signings for the Mariners, the type of goalkeeper he is. It's a little bit reminiscent of that 2012-13 team, and I mean, the way they've started the season, it's not a pipe dream that they could easily be there at the end of the year. Although
it's early doors. We're only 4 games in, but look, it's nobody's definitely getting carried away. There's a lot of hard work to go, and the young boys have got a lot to go as well in terms of experience and trying to cement a starting place in the team. But obviously, don't forget you got the likes of Nisbet that came through the system here as well. He's been fantastic, and again, people doubted him because of his size and stuff. But when Nizzy, he's got a massive heart, and he works harder than anybody, and to see him in there as well, he's great. So look, I think, like I said, it's probably about 80% have come through the academy at some point. But then you need your players that you talk about there, your Birighettis, your Mikey Simons, Bozanic, because they're the spine of your team, and you need that experience, because one thing you can never buy is experience, and that only comes from playing games. So like I say, long may it continue, and there's definitely more young boys as well that are underneath that the club have not seen it, that the fans have not seen yet. And I think if things go well, the opportunity for them will come as well. So I'll keep pushing them, and hopefully they'll be ready when the time comes. And the top scorer for me last season with the 23s actually went out on loan to Hong Kong Premier League to a friend of mine, Zesh Raymond, that coaches out there. So look, it's not just opportunity here, it's opportunity overseas, and by providing the young players that's what, as a club, the Mariners are trying to do now. And we're trying to put that in place so that we become a club that gives opportunities to good players. But again, they have to deserve it and they have to be good enough.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you did mention Matty Simon. He has pretty much a stalwart of the A League. He's been around for a while. He's also probably the crowd favourite to hate. And on the field, he does come across as maybe a little bit of a grub, of just a niggly player. What's he like as a bloke, but also, as you said, with those younger players and the experience?
He's just a champion bloke. I mean, again, like it's the Mikey Simon. You get on the pitch, I'd have him in my team any day. And I wasn't the nicest player. I love the tackle. I love to put off the opposition, and I think that's all part and parcel of elite sport. It's about winning games, and Mikey Simon's a winner. And I don't care what anybody says about him. The guy's an absolute champion of a bloke. And when he's on the pitch, all the defenders are all constantly on edge, and that allows other players to. And people don't see that. Again, I see it because I know Matty, and I've played the game for 20 years. But you have players on the pitch that don't get the respect they deserve. And I think as a footballer, he's a good player. He holds the ball up. He's deadly in the box aerially if you get crosses in the box.
Oh yeah.
But just the leadership that he gives the boys in training, the demands he put on them, as a captain and a leader that he has been. I had the same myself. You have to demand, you have to drive after young players, and Matty, like I say, the fans like to hate him because he gets stuck in, and I think at times he gets a rough end of the stick because of his reputation. But he's the top guy, and like at 35, he's 35 the other day against Sydney. So to get a 2-0 win against Sydney's old team on his 35th birthday is. I was delighted for him.
Yeah, that was a big result, and you could tell that he got under their skin during that entire game, the entire game he was on the pitch. So that just shows you exactly what he is. You touched on Alan Stajic before. We had a podcast before this called the Talking Prem Pod, which is how I initially reached out to you. I said very early on in that show that with him in charge there, I thought he was a really good coach, not just tactically, but the way he works with younger players, as he did with the Matildas. And it's really good to see him doing what he's doing at the Mariners now, because last year was pretty rough. Just coming into the squad the way he did and having to sort of sort it out and figure it out and get around it. But you can just see how good a coach he is with the way that they are playing now from where they were last year. They were bottom last year, and so far this season, as you said, it's early days, but the way they're playing now, they have purpose, they have direction. They're not going to be the easy beats that they have been in the past. I mean, an F3 derby win to start the season, knocking off Sydney FC. Very unlucky to lose to the Wanderers. Probably should have got at least a draw there. That was pretty unlucky. But, I mean, he is probably one of the better coaches in the league. That's...
No, look, Stadge, international level with the women, was successful. Had a tough time there. I'm sure you saw in the media. So no doubt that would affect any human being. Absolutely. What happened, and he definitely got... the rough end of the stick and probably a lot of unjust media attention, but he came into the job. I've worked closely with him sort of last year and saw what he went through, and he works very, very hard, and I think in any job, if you're going to work that hard, ultimately you're gonna get success. But like you said, it wasn't an easy start for him. And like you said, look, when you're going up against squads that are spending 3-4 times as much, which is always the case with the Mariners, and I think this season it's definitely been a leveler in terms of clubs not spending as much and having to play young players. But again, I think that's where our strength is having some good young players coming through and pushing, which has been seen. But as a manager, you've got to give them the opportunity, and Alan's given them that. At times we speak a lot about the young players and who's doing well and who deserves to train with the first team, because again, that's an opportunity. When you train with the first team, that's your opportunity to put yourself in contention to play. And like I said, it's early doors, but with the young players coming through and the results he's had so far, it's fitting for the hard work that he's put in and his staff. And like you said, as a club, we know that developing young players has to be a main focus for us, because we don't have the resources and the facilities of other clubs. But what we do have is a structure and a pathway that the best young kids can come to us and have a good chance of progressing into the first team. So it's a good balancing act with the experience and youth. But I think right now, as a club, we're on a good platform, but that's all it is. It's a foundation, and hopefully we can kick on and like you say, long may it continue.
Yeah, no, it's good. Yeah, it is again early doors in the A League, but how do you guys feel when you're about to head out? Because obviously at the moment, most of the New South Wales teams are only playing amongst themselves. So Mariners, the Jets, the Wanderers, Sydney FC, and then obviously the new boys, Macarthur FC. How are you looking at when getting the players ready to obviously then travel further? Obviously, when you might have to travel to Perth to play Perth, or when they're even like the long distance ones. So how do you get players ready for those ones?
Most of the players here are used to travelling. Obviously, most of them like the travel. It's self-aware. But look, it's normal. Everyone knows what's, again, in terms of the impact COVID's had. It's the fact that it's hardly anything over here in Australia is amazing. So again, whenever there's been a little thing, they've shut the borders to make sure nothing spreads. And again, the jaw's constantly changing. So like I say, the experienced boys in the first team there, and the young boys are just excited to be playing football. So whatever happens, the boys will deal with it. And over here with the travel, you always go the day before, if not 2 days before. So there's plenty of time to prepare for every game. But at some point there might be quite a lot of games in a short space of time, and that's one thing that I used to love, playing in England. Whereas here it's normally one game every week. So again, that possibly gives some young players more opportunity at all the A-League clubs, because when you play a lot of games in a short space of time, you get injuries, suspensions, and like you say, opportunities will open up. So everybody's in the same boat, and like I said, I think we're pretty lucky to be here with the very little COVID cases that there is. When you look at Europe and speak to people overseas, it's not good.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we've taken up a lot of your time, but I wanted to finish on a couple of little things. We've had small conversation about the current Sheffield United team and their chances of surviving. I'm almost resigned to the fact that it will be to the Championship next year. Nugget has drilled that into me quite a lot over the last couple of weeks. Do you have anything that you might see in the team that might say otherwise, or do you think it's going to be a long second half of the season and it will be Championship next year?
Oh, look, it's going to be a big ask, but Chris has done an amazing job there the last couple of years. I think the success last year, bringing new signings in, that haven't quite worked out. Obviously struggling to score goals. Obviously the COVID as well. No fans in the stadium, and again, everyone knows Bramall Lane. When you got a full house there, it's intimidating for anybody. I don't care who you are. Your team, because when we used to play all the big teams there, they would never leave without a fight, and I think having no fans there has affected some clubs, and I think Sheffield United is one of them clubs that's definitely felt that loss. But look, Billy Sharp's a good friend of mine, obviously captain there, unbelievable goal scorer, and I know he's pushing to get back in the team. And look, it's not impossible. It's going to be a tough ask, but one thing I know is that they'll keep fighting, and maybe they'll get on a good run and get results, because there's other teams down there that are going to struggle as well, and you can already see that. But like I say, it's not impossible. It's going to be a big ask, but like I said, I know the club there, and Chris and the boys will just they'll keep fighting to keep the dream alive, and fingers crossed that they can pull off a great escape.
Oh yeah.
Great Escape Part 2. The Leicester escape in 2015 was probably the first one. Sheffield United, can we do it this year? Jamie hopes so. I think you guys will be versing Nottingham Forest in the Championship next year with me. So
maybe
good times ahead.
1 year back down and then back up again.
That's it.
Probably, because we're going to get relegated this year anyway, so it doesn't matter.
As long as they stick with Chris Wilder, we'll be fine.
Yeah. I'm pretty much out. Jamie, you got anything else for Nick?
No, that was it. I tried not to keep it too blade-centric, so I think I got 3 little questions in there, so I'm okay. I'm happy with that. I can deal with that.
Happy with that. Anyway, thanks a lot, Nick, for taking the time out of your Sunday evening to chat with us, and look, really appreciate it. So good luck for the rest of the season with the Mariners, and hopefully the Wanderers can knock you off again.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you.
Chat. Enjoy Australia Day, and take care.
Yeah, thanks very much, man. Really appreciate it.
No worries. Cheers, guys.